Welcome to The Explainer. Some campaigns do more than just get a bunch of views. They literally rewrite the marketing playbook. And today, we're diving into some of the absolute classics.
I mean, this is the million-dollar question for any brand today, right? In this endless sea of digital noise, how do you actually become a legend? How do you cut through all that and really, truly stick? It's one thing to get seen, but it's another thing entirely to be remembered. And just to give you a sense of how critical this really is, get this. 78% of businesses now have dedicated social media teams. Think about that. Entire teams whose whole job, day in and day out, is to try and answer that one question. That's a huge change from even 10 years ago, and it just goes to show you how high the stakes have gotten.
So, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to deconstruct a few of these legendary campaigns to figure out what that secret ingredient really was, what made them stick. Because the lessons here, they're absolutely timeless. Just as powerful today as the day they launched. Okay, so before we jump into the really juicy stuff, the secret ingredients, it's worth remembering the basics, right? This is kind of the textbook framework for any decent campaign. You've got your plan, you set your goals, you promote across different channels, and then you analyze what happened. That's the how-to. It's the strategic backbone for sure. But what we're really digging into today is the why. Why do some campaigns just connect on a whole other level? And that brings us to our first principle. All right, first up, principle 1 is all about tapping into pride. And our first case study from Bajaj, it's a masterclass in pulling on a really powerful emotional lever, one that goes way beyond just the product. The nation's bike. I mean, that's not just a tagline, is it? That's a huge statement of identity. It's a really bold claim for a motorcycle. So the question is, how on earth did they earn that title? How did they make that more than just empty words on an ad? Well, this is how, and it's pretty brilliant. They didn't just sell a motorcycle. They sold a literal piece of national history. They took salvaged metal from this iconic, retired naval warship, the INS Vikrant, and used it to build the bike. By doing that, they connected their product directly to a symbol of Indian strength, of honor. All of a sudden, you weren't just buying a bike. You were buying a piece of the nation's pride. Genius. So that's the big lesson here, isn't it? Connect your product to something bigger, to a shared identity. When you can do that, when your product becomes a symbol for something much larger than itself, its value just skyrockets beyond features and price. Okay, so let's move on to our next principle. This one is all about inspiring action. So what happens when a brand decides to use its massive platform for something more than just, selling stuff? How do you actually inspire people to act or even just to feel inspired? Well, Adidas had a choice to make. On the one hand, they could have done the standard thing, right? Buy our new shoes. Simple product promotion. But on the other hand, they could do something totally different. Tell a real social story. Something like, let's celebrate the spirit of people who overcome incredible odds. And as you can guess, they chose the path that really connects on a deep human level. This was their odds campaign. And their approach was honestly just brilliant. They took the spotlight completely off the product and put it squarely on the incredible story of Major D.P. Singh, who's a war hero and India's first ever Blade Runner. The campaign was never really about the shoes. It was all about his journey, his spirit, his resilience, and just his absolute triumph against the odds. And the lesson here is so clear. You can elevate your brand by championing an inspiring human story. When you do that, you create a way deeper, much more meaningful connection with your audience. You stop being just a company that sells things, and you become a champion of actual human values. Okay, principle number 3, proof by influencer. So let's say your product's main feature is something you really have to see to believe. Like it's super tough. You can say it's tough all day long, but how do you actually prove it in a way that people will believe and trust? Well, this was the challenge Samsonite put out there. Push the limit. They gave this challenge to a handful of really well-known, trusted people for their new, super sturdy product line. It's such a simple but powerful call to action, and it just sets the stage perfectly for what's to come. So instead of just telling people their luggage was tough, they decided to show them. How? By giving it to famous, credible influencers and letting them try and fail to destroy it. They handed it over to actors, comedians, and just said, go on, push the limit, do your worst.
And the videos that came out of it, they were so authentic, so entertaining, and you better believe they were persuasive.
And that's the lesson. Let credible voices prove your product's value for you. It's all about the power of borrowed trust. When an influencer that people already like and believe in puts their own reputation on the line to test something, their audience pays attention. That kind of authentic proof speaks way louder than any slick ad ever could.
All right, our fourth principle, relatable humor. Let's talk about connecting with a feeling that is absolutely universal. I mean, we've all been hangry before, right? That weird mix of hungry and angry. Well, Snickers found an absolutely brilliant way to tap into that exact feeling. They posed this simple question: who are you when you are hungry? And we all know the answer. You get grumpy, you get clumsy, you're just not yourself. Snickers grabbed that incredibly simple, relatable idea and then scaled it up in a way that was just mind-boggling, but somehow still felt super personal.
And that mind-boggling scale, here's a number for you: 19. That's how many different local colloquial languages they used on the candy bars themselves to describe different hunger symptoms. Things like cranky, or dramatic, or confused. By doing that, they made the same joke feel like a personal, inside joke to millions of different people all at once. So the lesson is pretty powerful. Use hyperlocal, relatable humor to forge that personal connection, even at a massive scale. It just proves that a good laugh, especially one that feels like it was made just for you, can make a global product feel like it's speaking directly to you. Okay, so let's tie this all together. We've looked at 4 incredible campaigns. One used pride, another used inspiration, a third used proof, and the last one used humor. They seem pretty different on the surface. But what's the one connecting thread that makes them all so legendary? Well, when you lay it all out like this, it becomes crystal clear. You have Bajaj connecting to shared pride, Adidas inspiring through a story, Samsonite proving through influencers, which is really about trust, and Snickers connecting with humor. See the pattern? Despite all their different tactics, every single one of these campaigns succeeded because they hooked the brand into a powerful, universal human emotion. They weren't selling bikes or shoes or luggage, they were selling feelings. And that really is the ultimate lesson, isn't it? It's not just about what you sell. It's about the story you tell and the feeling you create. Making that connection, the one between your product and a core human value, that is the real secret. That's what separates a forgettable ad from a campaign that builds a legend.
So that leaves us with one final question to chew on. As we head into a future that's dominated by AI and algorithms, are these deeply human-centric ideas going to matter more or less? Something to think about. Maybe in a world of machines, the most powerful thing a brand can do is just be more human. Thanks for joining me on This Explained.